What if I told you that everything you've been chasing, success, confidence, opportunity, isn't out there, it's already inside you, just waiting for one thing to change. And until you shift that one thing, nothing else will. Everything begins in the mind. Before a dream becomes a reality, before a business takes off, before a goal is reached, it is first born in the imagination. What separates the people who rise from the ones who remain stuck is not their environment, not their education, not even their resources. It is their mindset. The greatest power a human being has is the ability to control their thoughts, to redirect their focus, to reshape their internal world so that the external world responds. Most people don't realize this. They think success is about luck or timing or being in the right place at the right time. But if your mindset isn't right, the right place and the right time will pass you by. You will not even recognize opportunity when it's standing right in front of you, because your thinking is not aligned with who you need to become. When someone walks into a room with confidence, you feel it. That doesn't come from money or status. It comes from belief, from the quiet conviction that says, I belong here. I have something to offer. That belief begins with mindset. And mindset is like a lens. If your lens is dirty, scratched, or cracked, you're going to see the world as a place full of obstacles, rejections, and threats. But if you clean that lens, adjust it, if you shift the way you see yourself and what's possible, you'll begin to see solutions, support, and openings where others see only problems. You can't wait for your circumstances to change before you shift your thinking. You have to lead with belief. And that you have to decide, even if the evidence isn't there yet, that your life can be different. You have to train your mind every day to see what's working, to focus on what's in your control, that to hold a vision that's bigger than your current situation. That's where transformation begins. Not outside of you, not in some perfect condition that may or may not come, but inside. And that, in the quiet decisions, in the moment you tell yourself, I'm more than this. I can grow through this. I can rise above this. That moment is power. That moment is the seed of success. And just like any seed, it needs to be watered, protected, and nurtured. It means feeding your mind the right things, and that cutting out the negativity, walking away from the people who keep you small, and choosing to speak life into yourself daily. Most people are living their lives based on past programming, what they were told they could or couldn't be, what they failed at once, what others believed about them. But when you change your mindset, you interrupt that program. You start writing your own code. You take control of the story. You give yourself permission to think higher, speak bolder, and dream deeper. And that your mind becomes a magnet for new ideas, new connections, and new energy. You start taking action from a place of clarity instead of confusion. You stop waiting and start moving. You stop doubting and start building. You stop surviving and start creating, and everything you've ever wanted to do, become, or create is on the other side of the thoughts you choose to believe. What you believe about yourself sets the tone for everything else in your life. Your belief system is the silent architect of your actions, habits, and decisions. It doesn't matter how much potential you have, how intelligent you are, or how many skills you've developed. If deep down you don't believe you are capable, worthy, or deserving of success, you will always find a way to sabotage or shrink your progress. Most people carry beliefs that were never theirs to begin with. They inherited them from parents, teachers, peers, or past experiences. Somewhere along the way, they were told they weren't good enough, or smart enough, or that success was for other people, and because they heard it often enough, or during vulnerable moments, they believed it. That belief became a part of their identity. It shaped how they showed up in the world. Belief is powerful because it determines your ceiling. If you believe you can't do more, be more, or have more, your actions will always reflect that limitation. You won't take the leap, and that you won't pursue the opportunity. You won't fight for what's possible because in your heart, you don't think it belongs to you. On the other hand, when you believe in yourself, even just a little, things begin to shift. You carry yourself differently. You take more risks. You bounce back faster from failure. You walk into rooms like you belong there. People respond to you differently, not because they changed, but because your self-image did. And that image silently tells the world how to treat you. It gives others permission to see you the way you see yourself. Every action you take is rooted in belief. If you believe you're not a leader, you'll never speak up. If you believe you don't have value, you won't charge what you're worth. If you believe you'll always struggle, you won't look for abundance. Your belief system drives your focus, and your focus determines your reality. If you walk around believing that life is hard, that people can't be trusted, or that success is out of reach, your mind will gather evidence to support that. It will filter everything you see, hear, and experience through the lens of that belief. But when you choose to believe that you are capable of growth, worthy of love, and deserving of success, you start seeing possibility. Your brain begins to collect new evidence. You start noticing options, hearing opportunities, attracting people who believe in you because now you believe in yourself. The good news is beliefs are not fixed. They can be changed. They can be upgraded. You don't have to keep carrying the old stories that keep you small. You can choose new thoughts, new affirmations, new perspectives that align with the future you want to build. But you've got to feed those beliefs. You've got to challenge the old ones. You've got to surround yourself with voices and environments that reinforce your power, not your past. Because every day, whether you realize it or not, you're proving your beliefs right or wrong with your choices, your words, and your energy. How you see yourself dictates how you show up in the world. That, your self-perception, becomes the blueprint for your behavior. If you see yourself as someone with value, someone who brings something meaningful to the table, someone who is capable of learning, evolving, and thriving, you begin to act accordingly. You walk with a different energy. You speak with authority. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need external validation. But if your self-perception is damaged, if you see yourself as someone who is always behind, not good enough, or not deserving, that will silently sabotage your potential. You'll hesitate when it's time to speak up. You'll shrink in the presence of opportunity. You'll procrastinate when it's time to take action. Not because you're lazy, but because deep down you don't believe your effort will be enough. The world reflects back what you project. People treat you based on the cues you give off. If you carry yourself with doubt, insecurity, or fear, it influences how others respond to you. It influences the jobs you apply for, the relationships you attract, the money you earn, and the risks you're willing to take. All of it flows from your self-image. And self-image is not based on reality. It's based on repetition. What you consistently think and say about yourself becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes how you behave. That's why two people with the same talent, the same intelligence, and the same background can have completely different outcomes. One believes they can, and so they act boldly, try more, recover faster, and attract more. The other believes they can't, and so they hold back, hesitate, and settle for less. And that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. You might dream of success, but if you still see yourself as someone who always fails, someone who can't handle pressure, or someone who isn't ready, you will act in ways that reinforce that image. This is why lasting change doesn't happen by changing your habits alone. It happens when you change how you see yourself. When you begin to believe you are the type of person who follows through, who learns quickly, who adapts and overcomes, everything changes. Your habits catch up. Your actions become aligned. You stop chasing results and start embodying them. This is not about pretending to be something you're not. And that it's about uncovering who you truly are beneath the doubt, the fear, and the insecurity. It's about building a relationship with yourself based on truth, on growth, and on potential rather than past pain. Every time you speak kindly to yourself, every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you stretch beyond your comfort zone, you're reinforcing a new self-image, one that says, I am capable. I am enough. I am becoming the person I was meant to be. And from that place, you begin to take different actions. You move through life with intention. You attract new experiences, new relationships, and new results. You don't wait for permission. You don't ask the world who you are. You show them. Success does not belong to the lucky or the privileged. It belongs to those who decide they will have it. It is not something handed out at random or reserved for a select few. It is earned through mindset, commitment, and an unwavering decision to rise no matter what. People wait for signs, for the right timing, for someone to notice them, approve of them, or clear the path for them. But the truth is, no one is coming to save you. You have to make the choice, and that you have to wake up every day and decide that you are not going to stay where you are. Yeah, you have to choose to believe in something greater for yourself, even when nothing around you is changing yet. That choice is what separates the dreamers from the doors, the people who talk about it from the people who live it. You can have talent, resources, and even connections, but without the decision to succeed, without that internal commitment, you will never go all in. You will hold back, hesitate, and second guess. But when you decide, really decide, that you're going to win, and that you're going to grow, that you're to live full out, you operate from a different place. You don't ask if it's possible. You ask how to make it happen. You don't fold after failure. You rise with more clarity. You don't wait for motivation. You move with discipline. The people who succeed in life are not necessarily the ones with the fewest obstacles. They're the ones who refuse to let their obstacles stop them. They understand that life is going to test them, challenge them, and sometimes knock them down. But they've already made the decision, I will not quit. I will not shrink. I will not stop. And that kind of decision creates momentum. It fuels action even on the hard days. It pushes you to keep going when it'd be easier to give up. And eventually, that decision becomes your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who might succeed. You see yourself as someone who will. And because of that, you show up differently. You take risks others avoid. You say yes to opportunities others doubt. You keep building, improving, and stretching even when no one is watching. That's the choice that leads to growth. And that's the choice that builds confidence. That's the choice that produces results. You don't have to know every step. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to decide that you're going to figure it out. That you're going to move forward no matter what. That your story will not end in mediocrity or regret. And that you're going to take responsibility for your future and own every piece of it. That decision, made every single day through every setback and every victory, is what creates success. Not the decision to try, not the decision to wait, the decision to become, to commit, to keep showing up even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, and that even when it looks like nothing's working yet. Because the ones who succeed are not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who never stopped choosing themselves. The story you tell yourself becomes the reality you live. Every day, you are narrating your life, consciously or unconsciously. You're either speaking possibility into your future or repeating the same limitations that have held you back for years. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They say things like, "I'm not that kind of person. I always mess up." Or, "That's just how life is for people like me." These words might seem small, but carry massive weight. They program your mind, set your expectations, and shape your behavior. If you keep telling yourself you can't, then you won't. Not because it's true, but because you've convinced yourself it is. The internal dialogue becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The problem is, most of these stories were formed during moments of fear, failure, or criticism. Someone told you that you weren't good enough, and instead of challenging it, you absorbed it. You tried something once and failed, so you decided you weren't meant for it. You were hurt or rejected, and from that pain, you built an identity to protect yourself. But the truth is, that version of your story is not the only one. You can rewrite the script. You can flip the narrative. You can choose to tell yourself a story that lifts you up instead of locking you down. When you change the story, you change what you believe is possible. Instead of saying, "I've always struggled," you say, "I've overcome a lot, and I'm still rising." Instead of, "I'm not ready," you say, "I'm learning and growing every day." Instead of, "I don't belong," you say, "I've earned my place, and I'm just getting started." Words carry energy. What you say to yourself in private will eventually show up in your public life. And that you'll either move forward with confidence or hold yourself back with excuses. The story you choose determines which direction you go. This doesn't mean ignoring your past or pretending life has been easy. It means giving yourself the authority to decide what those experiences mean. You can look at your pain and see weakness, or you can look at it and see resilience, and that you can view your past mistakes as proof that you're not enough, or you can view them as lessons that shaped your strength. Every version of you, every failure, every heartbreak, every setback has given you something, but it's your to find that meaning and use it to fuel your future. You're the narrator now. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't need someone else to affirm your worth. You just need to start telling the truth. Not the fearful version, not the broken version, but the version that reflects your strength, your growth, your power. And it starts with your words. You speak to yourself more than anyone else does. So if your voice isn't lifting you, it's limiting you. And that, start speaking what you want to live. Start declaring who you choose to become. Because once you rewrite the story, the world begins to respond to the new script you're living by. When your mindset changes, your energy changes with it. The way you think shapes the way you feel. And the way you feel determines how you move through the world. Most people underestimate the power of their internal state. They think success is just about strategy, action, and execution. But it starts much deeper than that. It starts with the vibration you give off, the energy you carry, the silent signal you send out to the people around you, and the opportunities that pass by. You can walk into a room and say nothing, but your energy says everything. It reveals your confidence, your focus, your intention, and your belief in yourself. And that energy is a direct product of your mindset. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, negativity, and insecurity, your energy becomes heavy. It pushes things away. It makes people uncomfortable. It causes hesitation and confusion. That even if you're working hard on the outside, that internal state is communicating something entirely different. You might be reaching out to people, applying for jobs, launching businesses, or building dreams. But if the energy behind those actions is rooted in desperation or lack, the results will reflect that. Energy doesn't lie. People can feel when you're uncertain, when you don't really believe, when you're operating from scarcity instead of vision. But when your mindset shifts toward possibility, toward abundance, toward faith in your abilities, and that everything begins to align. Your energy becomes lighter, stronger, more attractive. You start to move with a different posture. Your eyes carry clarity. Your voice carries conviction. You begin to draw and support connection, opportunity, not because the world changed but because your energy did. And that shift didn't come from pretending or faking confidence. It came from a real transformation inside your mind, from replacing fear with faith, from choosing gratitude over bitterness, from deciding to believe in your worth before you had the external proof. This energy shift affects not just how others see you, but how you see the world. When you're operating from a mindset of strength, you notice possibilities you used to overlook. You see chances to grow where you once saw obstacles. You find lessons in the losses and purpose in the pain. You don't panic under pressure. You adapt. You don't avoid discomfort. You grow through it. And because of that, you begin to make better decisions. You trust your instincts. You build momentum. That you act with more focus and less fear. Everything responds to your energy. Your relationships, your business, your health, your goals. The people you attract, the conversations you have, the risks you take. They're all influenced by what you're carrying inside. And that you might not be able to control everything that happens around you, but you can control the energy you bring to it. And that energy comes from the thoughts you feed, the beliefs you nurture, the story you choose to live by. When you learn to shift your mindset, you begin to command a new energy, parents, and that energy starts to transform the world you live in from the inside out. What you expect, you invite. Every thought you allow to settle in your mind is like an open invitation to the life you are going to live. If you constantly expect failure, you subconsciously prepare for it. You pull back. You hesitate. You resist opportunities, not because they aren't good, but because you've already decided they won't work out for you. On the other hand, when you expect success, when you believe that good things are on the way, you carry yourself in a completely different way. Your energy shifts. Your posture shifts. Your conversation shifts. People feel something different about you because you've positioned your mind to receive something better. The world doesn't just give to people who want. It gives to people who expect. Wanting is passive, but expectation is active. It shapes your behavior. It causes you to prepare in advance. You start training differently. You invest more deeply. You show up earlier. You speak with clarity and purpose. You act like something is already happening, not like you're waiting for permission. That is the difference between wishful thinking and grounded expectation. When you expect greatness, you stop begging for small opportunities and start walking like you were built for something bigger. Most people are stuck because they keep expecting the same thing over and over again. They expect more of what they've already experienced. They expect more struggle because that's all they've known. They expect to be overlooked because that's what happened before. They expect the pain to return, the rejection to repeat, and the same cycles to keep playing out. But the truth is, and that your past only has power if you expect it to repeat. When you interrupt that expectation with something new, something bold, something driven by faith instead of fear, you change the game. Expectation is not about ignoring reality. It's about seeing beyond it. It's about deciding to look through the lens of possibility instead of limitation. Even if your bank account doesn't reflect wealth, you expect abundance. And that, even if you haven't found the right opportunity yet, you expect the right one to show up. Even if things are quiet, you expect that something is working behind the scenes. This kind of mindset builds a different level of resilience. It keeps you moving when others slow down. It keeps you focused when others are distracted. It keeps you hopeful when others give up. You attract what you believe you deserve. You attract what you think is possible for you. If you expect more, you begin to elevate every area of your life to match that new standard. Your words begin to change. Your circle begins to shift. You remove anything that contradicts your vision. You stop settling for connections that drain you, environments that limit you, and habits that sabotage you. You start speaking as if your dreams are already unfolding. You start walking with confidence, not arrogance, because you know your time is coming. You start living like someone who expects the best and is ready to receive it at any moment. You don't need anyone's permission to become great. You don't have to wait for validation, approval, or recognition to start stepping into the person you were meant to be. Too many people are sitting on their gifts, shrinking their light, and dimming their voice because they're waiting for someone else to tell them it's okay to rise. They're waiting for applause before they take the first step. They're waiting for a perfect sign, a perfect moment, or for someone to believe in them before they believe in themselves and that. But greatness doesn't work like that. It doesn't come wrapped in approval. It comes through a decision to stop waiting and start becoming. You were born with potential. You were born with something that nobody else on this planet has. Your voice, your vision, your perspective, your way of seeing the world. And the longer you wait for someone else to acknowledge it, the longer you delay what's already inside you. People may never fully see your value until you show it. They may never understand your vision until you build it. And even then, some will doubt, criticize, or ignore it. That's dangerous, to attach your self-worth to external approval, because the world is inconsistent. Opinions change. People leave. Crowds cheer today and forget tomorrow.
Yeah.
If your confidence is tied to the outside, you'll never feel secure. But when you give yourself permission, when you look in the mirror and say, I am enough. I am capable. I am ready. Everything starts to shift. You don't need a title to lead. You don't need a big platform to make an impact. You don't need 100 likes to prove your voice matters. You just need the courage to use what you have, to show up as who you are, to stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Some people won't understand your journey because they weren't assigned your calling. Some people won't support you not because you're doing something wrong, but because your growth reminds them of what they've avoided. That's not your problem. Your job is not to make everyone agree with your vision. Your job is to live it, to walk in it, to act like someone who knows that their presence has power. Greatness isn't a crown someone gives you. It's something you claim. It's something you step into with humility, strength, and purpose. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than the version of you that settled, doubted, and stayed quiet. And that you break that cycle when you stop asking for a green light and start moving with faith. And that when you decide that your future is too important to keep on hold. When you stop outsourcing your power and start owning your journey. Every time you take action in alignment with your purpose, you reinforce that permission. Every time you show up with confidence, even if your voice shakes, you affirm your right to be seen, heard, and respected. You are not here to play small or stay hidden. Live like it's already done. That's the mindset that separates those who make progress from those who stay stuck in hesitation. Most people wait for the result before they start showing up differently. They want confirmation before commitment. They wait for the job offer before dressing for the position. And that they wait for the audience before speaking with confidence. They wait for the success before they feel worthy of it. But the truth is, success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who prepare for it before it arrives. When you carry yourself like the person who has already achieved the goal, you start to move in alignment with that outcome. Acting like it's already done doesn't mean pretending. It means embodying the mindset, energy, and habits of the person you're becoming. It means stepping into your future now, not later. You train like the opportunity is coming. You speak like the doors are already opening, and that you think like the results are already unfolding behind the scenes. That shift in mindset changes the way you make decisions. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" And you start asking, "What would the future version of me do right now?" That question changes your behavior, your routine, and your level of focus. This mindset creates momentum. It pushes you to take action from a place of belief instead of fear. It helps you push through days when motivation is low when progress feels slow, and when no one else is clapping, because you're not relying on outside proof. You're anchored in inner knowing. You've already decided who you are and where you're going, and your actions reflect that. You start saying no to things that don't match the level you're stepping into. You protect your time, energy, and vision like they matter, because they do. You stop making decisions based on your current situation and start making them based on the future you are building. Every step you take from that place builds evidence. It confirms your belief. It strengthens your confidence. You're no longer just visualizing the life you want. You're living in agreement with it. You attract new opportunities, new people, and new ideas because your energy is already operating on that frequency. People can feel it. They're drawn to that certainty, that clarity, that power of someone who knows they're going somewhere. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to wait for the world to catch up. You can live, move, and act like it's already done, even if no one else sees it yet. The version of you who has already succeeded is not waiting for permission. They're already doing the work. They're already walking in rooms with confidence. They're already showing up early, staying late, and taking risks and leading with conviction. That version of you exists now. The only gap is the level of action and belief you're willing to bring to this moment. When you live like it's already done, you speed up the process. You don't shrink when things get hard. You rise. You don't beg for opportunity. You prepare for it. Success isn't something you chase. It's something you become. So many people are running after results, outcomes, and recognition, thinking that once they get there, then they'll finally feel confident, worthy, and fulfilled. But it doesn't work that way. You don't become successful because you achieved something. You achieved something because you became someone new. It all begins with identity. The inner transformation comes before the external breakthrough. Chasing success without becoming the kind of person who can sustain it is like building a house on sand. It may look good for a while, but it won't last under pressure. Real success is rooted in alignment. It's about matching your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors with the vision you have for your life. If you want to be a leader, you start leading yourself first. If you want financial abundance, you start thinking and managing your current resources with discipline and intention. If you want influence, you start mastering your voice and your message right now, not when the platform shows up. Becoming is not about waiting. It's about deciding who you are and proving it with your actions before the world hands you the title or the reward. When you focus on becoming, the chase stops feeling exhausting. You're not running after something, hoping it gives you validation. You're not addicted to outcomes or obsessed with comparing yourself to others. You start to focus inward, asking deeper questions like, what kind of person would have this result? How do they think? How do they show up? How do they handle stress? How do they treat others? Then you work every day to grow into that version of yourself. You become more intentional with your time. You stop wasting energy on things that don't align with your values. You stop engaging with people who pull you backward. You begin to move with clarity and purpose. The beauty of this mindset is that it puts the power back in your hands. You're no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You don't need someone to pick you, to approve of you, or to give you an opportunity. You've already picked yourself. And because of that, you show up to life differently. You operate from a place of ownership, not entitlement. You build consistency, not chaos. You stay grounded in discipline, not driven by mood swings or emotion. You no longer need to force or rush the process because you trust who you are becoming. Success then becomes inevitable. Not because you're lucky, not because you're special, but because you're aligned. The gap between where you are and where you want to be gets smaller every time you show up as your highest self. Parents in that. You don't chase confidence. You build it. You don't wait for the opportunity. You become the person who attracts it. You don't perform to impress others. You live in a way that honors your potential. And through that process, success doesn't feel like something you're trying to reach. It becomes something that naturally flows from who you've chosen to become. Change your mindset, and everything else will follow. You're not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you. Decide who you are, believe in what's possible, and start becoming it today. Because success isn't something you find. It's something you step into.